Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the comments of the live feed. If you need any more advice, you can join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where the accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During this live session, we will be running a poll, so please do engage with it and I'll reveal the results at the end. My name is Eva Mrazikova and I'm accountancy market specialist in Irish Software Group. I'm coming from accountancy practice background where I have been bringing digital revolution within the accountancy firm. And I was looking into ways how to make processes more efficient, how to automate previously manual processes, and also how to help our client with the digital onboarding and adoption. So I would be looking at the moment, how can digitalization and automatization help accounting firms to be more successful and maybe to have wider reach and being helpful to their clients. Now, this is enough about myself because I'm so excited this morning to be bringing you the news of the latest budget that has been announced yesterday. So there is so much we have to go through. So I'd like to start straight away on this. So as we know, Chancellor announced budget 2021. There have been a lot of expectations, assumptions. Some of them were right, some of them were wrong. But overall, we can see that there is this really good intention and big intention to help to revive the economy and to help the businesses, even if those who were closed. So I'm going to talk you through a few points. So the good news in terms of the furlough, because that has been extended until the end of September. As you know, this was meant to finish at the end of April. So nothing changed in terms of how much you get paid as a furlough pay as employee. It's still 80%. But the government is asking the employers to contribute in July 10% toward the furlough pay, and in August 20%. So just a kind of small amount for employers to contribute. But also don't forget that the employers are still liable for paying employer national insurance contributions and pension contributions. So that doesn't change. As you know, the claim always has to be submitted by the 15th in the following month for the previous month. So if we have for the month of February, we have until the 15th of March to submit the claim. So this is one good news. Another good news is self-employment grants. So we know that the grant number 4 will be available in April. Further information will be available. And then good news, we have grant, self-employment support grant number 5, which will cover the latest period. And another good news is that the Chancellor widened the net. They kind of amended the criteria, which means that, or it says at the moment, if you file 2019-20 tax return, you will be eligible to apply, which means that about extra 600,000 newly self-employed people will be now eligible, which is great news. Now, obviously, further details will be unveiled as we go on, but so far this is very good news for those newly self-employed, because they have been until now really excluded from this. In terms of the universal credit, the 20% up, the £20 a week uplift per week, which is worth £1,000 a year, has been extended for another 6 months, and working tax credit claimants will get £500 as a one-off payment. Well, as we know, in April, usually there is increase in national minimum wage. So this will be now for 25 and over, increase to £8.91 per hour. Now, we have some freezes, as I would say, because obviously as much as Chancellor is understanding and want to soften the effects of the pandemic, we will need to give money back to the government in some shape or form in later years. So there will be freeze on personal incomes tax allowance at £12,570, and this is being freeze from April 2020 to 2026. And also higher income tax threshold is to be frozen at £50,270 from 2020 to 2026. In terms of the corporation tax, this is probably the highest increase we see in this budget, is that corporation tax on company profits is going to rise from 19 to 25% in April 2023. This doesn't apply to small companies who have a profit of less than £50,000. That will stay at 19%, so this will apply for bigger companies. There is also stamp duty holiday on houses purchased in England and Northern Ireland that is going to be extended in June, which means for any house that will be bought up to the value of £500,000, there will be no stamp duty to be paid by the buyers. There are another incentive grants for apprenticeships to rise to £3,000 per claim, and also very, very good positive news for the hospitality rate, where we know that the rate has been reduced to 5%, and this was to come to an end. Now, this reduced 5% rate will be now reduced at least until the end of September. And then for the following 6 months, there will be interim rate of 12.5%. So it won't jump straight back to 20%, which is again a good news, and hopefully it will be a good stimulus. Now, business rate holidays for firms in England is continuing until June. And then from there is 75% discount on business rates, which is again a good news. We have restart grants for businesses and shops who have been forced to close due to pandemic. So we have £6,000 per premises for non-essential outlets that would be due to reopen in April, and £18,000 for gyms, personal care providers, and other hospitality and leisure businesses. So this is again a very good news, and this will be crucial for some businesses who went under or who kind of cannot see themselves trading at the moment. So I do welcome the news. There are obviously other information in the budget, and I can't go through them all, but I do feel that those are quite strong players and they will make a difference. Please, if you're not sure if you apply, please make sure you do your research, you speak to your accountant, or maybe even get in touch with us, because we don't want you to miss out on any of the opportunities that are there. So this is kind of just a summary from the budget. And I'm going to start taking questions because there is already few in the queue. So Wing from Facebook Messenger. Hi, Eva. How will small businesses benefit from a lower rate when the corporation tax is set to rise to 25 per PC in 2023? Now, Wing, thank you for your question, and I'll give you my view on this. The small business, when we talk about small business, we're talking about smaller profits. So if you imagine that the corporation tax is going to rise for the companies that have profits higher than £50,000, I would argue there is an argument that it's not going to affect as much small businesses. And many small businesses as well are not trading as limited companies, but are traded as self-employed or partnerships to which corporation tax doesn't apply. So we need to distinguish. And I know it's difficult. It's difficult because we all are going to be hit, and we all are going to be paying for this in the forward in so many years ahead. But I think what government is trying to do right now, it's very good, and they want to really make sure that the economy will start moving again, and the life will return to normal as much as possible. Heat from Facebook Messenger. Good morning, Eva. I'm a fitness instructor and I own a gym and read about the restart grant of 18,000. Will I be eligible? Will it be monthly installments? Heat, thank you for your question. Now, I can imagine this has been very tough time for you guys in your industry. I can only imagine. So I do welcome this news. At the moment, we don't have much further clarification, so just watch out. It says it'll be £18,000. So to me, on the face of it, you would apply, but obviously there will be eligibility criteria published as we go on. So just make sure you watch out. If you have an accountant, make sure you are in touch with him because this is crucial. This might be kind of difference between make it or break it for your business. So just make sure you watch out for it. The budget has been only announced yesterday, so then the further details and kind of the drop downs and more details will be coming through in coming days and weeks. But I wish you good luck with your business. Riley from Twitter DM. Does the new extended furlough scheme have any other changes? Will the government still continue to pay 80% of employees' wages up to £2,500? Riley, hi. Yes, that is completely correct. So apart from that, it's being extended. It's still 80% from your usual salary up to £2,500 a month. So the only difference will be that the employers will be required to contribute 10% towards this, and then in August 20%. And obviously they are still required to cover the cost of employer national insurance contributions and employer pension contributions. So apart from it, nothing changes as such. But again, I think the further as we go on in the next weeks, days, we will see if there are any eligibility criteria changes. But I wouldn't anticipate any because this scheme has been up and running for some time. So the only thing they can do, they can maybe widen the scope and maybe include people who started earlier this year. But that's just my assumption. They might not do it. So it will be just anybody who was on the books last year. Hopefully this answered your question. Boden from Instagram DM. Good morning. Good morning to you. Is the UK-wide recovery loan scheme a new one? What's the eligibility criteria and what's the maximum amount that I can borrow? Does it have a similar repayment structure to the bounce back loan? Now, Boden, yes, so this UK-wide recovery loan, it's different to bounce back loan. Now, the eligibility criteria, again, will come through as we go on. I think minimum is 25,000 and maximum, we're talking about millions. I'm not sure, sorry, I don't really remember, maybe 2 or 3 millions. Hopefully I'm right, but don't quote me on that. We can do a bit of research, so if you want, get in touch. So we don't know if it will have the similar repayment structure as a bounce back loan. So all those details will be coming to the light as we go on. So just keep an eye out on those. Hamish from Twitter DM. Hi Eva, what's going to be the score on this budget corporation tax? I'm assuming you won't pay 25% on all profit once you tip 50K. Will it be first 50K at 19 and 25% after that? Hamish, hi, thank you for your question. Now we are talking about the profits overall. So the way I understand it, you will be classed as a small company, or you are classed as a small company if you have a profits up to £50,000, and that's when 90% would apply. If you will have profits above that, everything will be taxed at the higher rate. Obviously, there will be some reliefs or tax deductible items that the company will be able to deduct, and we have investment relief, for example, on qualifying plant and machinery that will be actually up to 130% of the cost. So there will be other reliefs for the companies who will have to pay corporation tax, but they might be able to get a relief in a different way. But definitely it's not that you pay the lower rate, the lower rate of now 19% and then the higher on the rest. This is kind of, this profit bracket is really just determining the size of your company. So that's how it, that's my take on it. That's how it works. Hopefully this answered your question. Jerry from Facebook Messenger. Hello, to help get my head around the latest budget announcement, do you know if barbers come under the personal care sector or the non-essential shop? Hi, Jerry. Well, I'm not the expert on this kind of area, but I would think that you are going to fall into that categories, hairdressers, because we have gym owners. So I would think you do fall into that category. Again, the kind of small writing or the eligibility criteria behind this announcement will be shown as we go on, but I would think that you would definitely fall at least into one of the categories, but I would say the personal care, because that is. So just make sure you watch out, and once you see the eligibility criteria, so that you can actually be sure that you qualify for those. Hopefully it helps, but also make sure that you, if you're self-employed, that you are going to claim the self-employment grant. Also business rates as well, there is relief. So all of those things will come into effect. And then also there might be some localized grants. So depending on in which area you live and which council, I would get in touch with your local council as well, because there might be some grants available there as well. So make sure you exhaust every option possible to make sure that you get in every help from anywhere that's possible. So because everything will help you to get back on your feet. Hopefully this answered your question. Greta from Instagram DM. Who can apply for the Restart grant? Is it open to all businesses or is it only for some industry sectors? So as I said, those are kind of shops or businesses that have been forced to close. So you have to look at your business, at the type of your business that you are, whether you had premises or didn't have premises. So again, that there will be more guidance as we go through. So if your business has been forced to close, we could argue, but again, have a look. When did you close? What was your turnover? Why did you close? Things like that. If you have been affected by pandemic, I would suggest that you definitely look out for these grants. So it really depends on the business, on the type of business, and on the sector. So hopefully that answered your question, Greta. Flanagan from Twitter DM. Hi, Eva. If I have already taken a bounce back loan, will I be able to apply for the new recovery loan scheme? Yes, you will. I actually read this morning that this eligibility for the new recovery loan scheme doesn't exclude anyone who already had any grants or loans connected to the pandemic. So if you have bounce back loan, you still should be able to apply, but obviously there will be probably some other checks done by the bank, whether you can afford another loan, whether you can afford to pay it. That will depend on the amount, on the length. So generally, yes, you would be, but there will be other factors that kind of would be outside of this government guidance, because the bank will decide whether they feel comfortable borrowing you more money if you already have some. And obviously I would assume that you would need either business plan or some kind of plan, repayment plan, that you can actually prove that you will be able to pay this back. So this is we coming back now to your real-time record keeping and cash flow forecast and everything. So I'm hoping that you are on track, that you have something like a QuickBooks account where you record everything in the real time for your business, because for things like this that you're going to be applying for loans, the bank will very likely ask you for your recent figures rather than figures historical down there for last year. So hopefully this answered your question. Owain from Instagram DM. Morning, Eva. I've submitted my return on 9th of April 2020. My profit is less than 50K and I've been self-employed since September 19. Will I be able to claim the self-employment income support scheme grant? Morning, Owen. So on the face of it, by what you're telling me, I believe that you will be eligible. Now, as you know, with those self-employment income support scheme grants, you will have to apply yourself. So if I'd be you, I would watch out, and if there will be more information coming through, or you will be able to apply or have a look at that I would speak to HMRC, so as soon as possible. But on the face of it, because you have submitted, so the rule says if you submitted a tax return for 2019-20, then you will be eligible. So my gut feeling would be saying yes. I'm not sure whether there will be any apportionment because you didn't trade for the full 12 months. So, for example, if your profit divide 50,000 divided by 12 and how many months, so if your profit was still under this, I think that might be one of the checks they'll be doing. But on the face of it, I would say that you apply, and good luck with that. Lawrence from Facebook Messenger. I went self-employed in October 2020. When you take into account payment terms, I was due just short of 10,000 this month. Many of my clients have had to pull out due uncertainty in the market at the moment. So I'm thinking out of pocket. And from what I'm read about the budget, I won't be entitled to any help. Any advice for me? Hi, Lawrence. Well, this is a difficult one, because on the face of it, if you started your self-employment in October 2020, don't think there is much help available in terms of the self-employment grant. Now, depending on your business, have a look whether there are any local grants or any special like digital grants or helping in rural communities, rural areas, depending where you are. So I don't envy you. I understand you are in very difficult position with this. And you have lost clients already due to uncertainty. On the face of it, I don't think there is much you're eligible for, but make sure that you check with your council and kind of local authorities whether there isn't anything else available. And I wish you the best of luck, Lawrence. Salom from Twitter GM. Thank you for this session. What happens to the employer contribution from the June onward? Does it increase by 10% every month? Hi, Salom. Thank you for tuning in. So what happened to employer contribution from June onward? I assume you are talking about furlough. So if you are talking about furlough, we had this employer pension contribution and employer pension contribution cost. In terms of the furlough pay, this cost has been had to be borne by the employer for some time now. So this is not 10%, 20%. This is the full cost. So if somebody is getting furlough pay of 2,500, for example, then all employer national insurance contribution and all pension contributions from that furlough pay, this is the cost for the employer. So the only difference with what you are confused with when I said that in July employer will have to contribute to 10% and in August 20%. This means that where in June they would have claimed 80%, in July, they will be able to claim 70%, but they still have to pay their employee 80%. So they have to top it up by the 10%. And then in August, they will still have to pay the employee 80%, but from government, they will only get 60%. So they will have to top it up by 20%, but still, they will still bear the cost of the employer national insurance contribution and employer pension contribution. So hopefully that answers your question. Now, this was my last question that I have time for. So thank you very much for all the questions. You are all on the ball as usually. So well done. We had a poll. So in the poll, we have asked you, have you ever sacrificed anything for your employees? And 100% of you said yes. If I could, I'm going to just do a little bit of clap. Well, this is fabulous. This is wonderful. Guys, any of you employers out there, if you are sacrificing something for your employees as a business, that is great, because usually if your employees see that you care and you're loyal to them, they will give this loyalty back to you. If they see that you are on the same level with them, that you're not making difference, that you treat them as members of the team rather than just people who are doing job for you, that's very good. So make sure, I have nothing bad to say because 100% of you said yes, which is wonderful, but make sure, guys, now is more important than ever to look after your employees and to take care of them. Everybody is facing some difficult times at the moment. So make sure you are communicating with your employees. You know where they are, and also that they know they are clear where they are going with your business, and they know about the future, because those are such an uncertain times. And I wish you all guys very good luck, because the times are very difficult at the moment for the businesses. So this was all from me. So again, thank you for tuning in this morning. If you have any more questions, please get in touch with myself on LinkedIn, Eva Mrazikova. And coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is business strategist and all-round disruptor Hitan Makwana, founder and CEO of Enterprise LAB. Tune in to get advice on how to increase your capability and capacity to increase the revenue. A reminder that if you need any more advice, you can join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. It's been a pleasure with you guys this morning to deliver you the budget news. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed answering your questions, and have a lovely day.